The political anxiety gripping America right now during Trump's second term is worse than during the pandemic, with 68% of Americans reporting overwhelming stress about the uncertainty shaping our nation. But imagine waking up tomorrow feeling strangely calm despite the headlines. This isn't fantasy. It's exactly what ancient Stoic philosophers mastered during empire collapses and political chaos, far worse than what we're experiencing today. By the end of this video, you'll have 4 powerful Stoic practices, backed by modern neuroscience, that will transform your relationship with uncertainty, no matter where you fall on the political spectrum. The uncertainty epidemic, how your brain processes political change. Let's stop for a moment and really take in what's happening right now. Rising costs and wild swings in the markets. New tariffs are shaking confidence in the economy. Headlines about diversity programs being rolled back at work. Uncertainty around healthcare, education, and government support. And beneath it all, a growing sense that the world feels less stable, like the rules are changing faster than we can keep up. Whether you're concerned about healthcare access, retirement savings, immigration policies, or environmental regulations, your brain processes uncertainty in the same way. When we don't know what's coming next, our amygdala, the brain's alarm system, goes into overdrive. Brain scans show that political uncertainty activates the same neural pathways as physical threats. This happens regardless of your political beliefs. Your brain doesn't distinguish between a saber-toothed tiger and a threatening news headline. Both trigger the same stress response. We're experiencing a dual crisis, massive political change combined with an information ecosystem designed to amplify our fears. But here's the thing. Ancient philosophers mastered the art of staying calm during far worse political chaos. In particular, Stoicism, a philosophy that flourished during some of Rome's most turbulent political periods, provides practical tools for navigating uncertainty. These philosophers weren't isolated monks. They were senators, emperors, and everyday citizens who developed techniques for maintaining tranquility amid extreme uncertainty. Let's dive into their time-tested wisdom. The dichotomy of control. The first Stoic principle that can help us is what the Greek Stoic philosopher Epictetus called the dichotomy of control. In his handbook, The Enchiridion, he wrote, "Some things are in our control and others not." This might sound simple, but it's profoundly powerful. Modern cognitive behavioral therapy is built on this. A 2017 meta-analysis study published in Cognitive Therapy and Research found that learning to distinguish between what we can and cannot control reduces anxiety. Epictetus, born a slave whose leg was broken by his master, embodied this principle perfectly. When Emperor Domitian banished philosophers from Rome, Epictetus simply relocated his school, remarking, "Is that all? I was not imprisoned in Rome. I am not imprisoned now." Let me share a powerful Stoic exercise you can implement immediately, what philosophers call the circle of control. A simple yet profound practice that has transformed countless people's relationship with uncertainty. Take a piece of paper and draw 3 concentric circles, one inside the other, like a bullseye. In the innermost circle, your circle of control, write down everything related to current events that you can directly control. This includes how often you check the news, which sources you trust, who you discuss politics with, and what actions you take in your community. In the middle circle, your circle of influence, write down things you can influence but not completely control. Perhaps how your family understands certain issues, local initiatives you support, or conversations that shape others' perspectives. Finally, in the third circle, your circle of concern, list everything entirely beyond your control: election outcomes, Supreme Court decisions, market fluctuations, or global events. Now, here's the key. Focus your energy primarily on the inner circle, occasionally on the middle circle, and practice accepting the outer circle, the things outside your control. When applied to our current political climate, this means acknowledging that while you can't control who's in the White House, you can control how you respond to it. I'm curious, what aspects of the current situation have you been trying to control that might actually be outside your influence? Take a moment to reflect on this, and if you feel comfortable, share your thoughts in the comments below. But here's where it gets interesting. What if I told you that the Stoics developed a specific technique for dealing with propaganda and misinformation that's even more relevant today than it was 2,000 years ago? Stoic discernment in an age of propaganda. The second Stoic practice is particularly relevant in today's media environment. The Stoics had a concept called phantasia, the idea that our initial impressions of events are often distorted. Epictetus taught, "It is not events that disturb people, it is their judgments concerning them." When Emperor Nero blamed Christians for the Great Fire of Rome, the Stoic senator Seneca alone questioned this propaganda, a stance that cost him his life. Yet even as his veins were opened in forced suicide, witnesses reported he remained perfectly calm, dictating philosophical insights to his scribes until his final breath. Today's media landscape is designed to exploit our psychological vulnerabilities. A 2018 MIT study confirmed that false news spreads 6 times faster than true news online. Why? Because falsehoods trigger stronger emotional responses. The Stoics practiced what they called diachresis, discernment. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Don't let the force of an impression when it first hits you knock you off your feet. Just say to it, 'Hold on a moment. Let me see who you are and what you represent.'" Here's a practical technique I call the Stoic Media Consumption Protocol. First, pause. When you encounter triggering news, wait at least 10 minutes before reacting or sharing. Next, question. Ask yourself, what impression is this creating in me? What emotion am I feeling? Finally, step back. Put it into perspective. Consider, will this matter in a month, a year, 10 years? This practice doesn't mean ignoring important events. Instead, it helps you engage with news mindfully instead of reactively. Now, the next Stoic practice might seem counterintuitive at first, even a bit pessimistic, but neuroscience shows it's one of the most powerful ways to reduce anxiety about the future. Let me show you how it works. Negative visualization for resilience. The third Stoic practice is called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Seneca wrote, "He who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive." This isn't about catastrophizing or feeding anxiety. Instead, it's about mentally preparing for challenges so they don't blindside you. Modern psychology calls this defensive pessimism, and research shows it actually reduces anxiety by preparing us for various outcomes. Emperor Marcus Aurelius practiced negative visualization daily, writing in his journal, "Begin each day by telling yourself, 'Today I shall meet with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness.'" This mental rehearsal allowed him to maintain remarkable calm while facing a devastating plague, multiple wars, and betrayal by his closest generals. Here's how to practice it. Set aside 5 minutes in a calm state. Imagine a specific political outcome you fear. Now ask yourself, what exactly would happen? How would I cope? What resources do I have? Who would support me? What opportunities might arise even in this scenario? By mentally rehearsing your response to feared outcomes, you build psychological resilience. You realize that even in worst-case scenarios, you have the capacity to adapt and respond. This practice is particularly helpful for those anxious about upcoming policy changes or economic shifts, by visualizing how you might navigate these changes. The 3 practices we've covered so far are powerful, but they're just preparation for what might be the most transformative Stoic philosophy of all, one that even the Emperor of Rome relied on during times of war and plague. But before we dive into it, if you're finding value in these ancient practices, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more evidence-based spiritual growth. Know someone overwhelmed by today's political climate? Share this video with them. Ancient wisdom might provide the peace they're searching for. Discovering your telos in uncertain times. The fourth and most powerful Stoic practice involves connecting with your telos, your ultimate purpose. The Stoics believed that we can always act in alignment with our deepest values, regardless of external circumstances. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled during plague and war, wrote, "Does what's happened keep you from acting with justice, generosity, self-control, sanity, prudence, honesty, humility, straightforwardness?" Modern research confirms this wisdom. A 2014 study by Hill and Turiano found that people with a strong sense of purpose show greater resilience during times of crisis and live longer, healthier lives. Here's a practice I call the Telos identification exercise. Reflect on these 4 questions. 1. What values do you want to embody regardless of who's in power? 2. How can you express these values in your daily actions? 3. What contribution can you make to your immediate community? 4. What would you want to be remembered for beyond political affiliations? Your answers form a compass that can guide you through uncertainty. When the news cycle feels overwhelming, return to these core values. For example, if compassion is one of your values, you might focus on local volunteer work rather than getting caught in online political debates. If truth is important to you, you might dedicate time to deep research rather than reactive social media consumption. By connecting with your telos, you shift from being a passive consumer of news to an active participant in creating the world you want to live in. The Stoic Toolkit. Putting ancient wisdom into daily practice. Most people struggle with these ancient practices because they approach them incorrectly. Epictetus taught that philosophy must be practiced as daily ascesis, gradual, consistent training, rather than attempted all at once. As he wrote, "If you want to be a wrestler, you don't immediately enter the Olympic Games, but train daily in small matters to build your capacity for the greater contest." Begin with what the Stoics called prokopton, progressive advancement. Choose one practice to focus on for the next week. Perhaps start with the circle of control exercise each morning. As Marcus Aurelius did, make it part of your daily routine before engaging with the world. The following week, add the Stoic discernment practice when consuming news. Remember that Stoicism was never meant to be merely theoretical. Seneca emphasized, philosophy teaches us to act, not to speak. These practices become powerful only when applied consistently to the daily challenges of life. As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, we are citizens of the world, and the people around us are our neighbors. This perspective transcends political divisions and reminds us of our shared humanity, perhaps the most relevant Stoic teaching for our divided times. Remember that 68% statistic I mentioned at the beginning? The people who thrive during uncertain times aren't those who avoid challenges. They're the ones who develop inner resources to navigate them. Let's recap the 4 ancient practices that can help you navigate today's uncertainty. 1. The Dichotomy of Control. Focus on what you can change. 2. Stoic discernment. Consume media mindfully. 3. Negative visualization. Build resilience through preparation. 4. Connecting with your telos. Live by your deepest values. Which of these 4 practices resonated most with you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Now that you've discovered these powerful Stoic techniques, imagine combining them with the ancient Eastern Zen practices that create unshakable inner calm, regardless of what's happening in the world around you. Ready to complete your resilience toolkit? Click the video before it disappears to discover the missing piece. See you there.